Okay, here's the plates. Be able to even touch that plate is a privilege.
Marion Kelch is a retired teacher, facing the biggest teaching challenge of her life.
If they can survive a crash, they could probably survive a fall. It was picked up, it was bought on the Empress.
Instructing an entire country on the poignant memories and historical contribution of a ship that sank 90 years ago.
Well, I worked on it for 2.5 years, and it's just absolutely part of my life. I think I go to sleep thinking of the Empress of Ireland, and I wake up thinking of the Empress of Ireland and the artifacts.
The Empress of Ireland. It made 95 trips between Liverpool and Quebec City from the years 1906 to 1914, carrying almost 1,500 people each time. For Kelch, it is Canada's Mayflower.
This is the Empress of Ireland, the most important ship in Canadian history. It brought over 117,000 passengers, and most of these were people who were coming out to settle the West, a large proportion. And we believe that 400,000 people in Western Canada have a connection to the Empress of Ireland, whether they know it or not.
Right now, the single largest collection of artifacts from the Empress is for sale.
And that's a carved piece from the first-class dining room wall.
And American collectors are the most likely buyers.
I think the memory of the people of Canada who came over on the Empress is being betrayed, and also the memory of the people who perished is being betrayed. Very important.
That's why Kelch formed a non-profit group to try to keep the Empress artifacts in Canada. Artifacts like 90-year-old wine bottles.
You know,
I can't believe the barnacles are still on the bottle.
well, they wouldn't fall off.
And the breakfast technology of a bygone age.
That's 1914 automatic egg boiler.
What did you have to pay for that?
We had to pay $3,000 for that.
Kelch knows the most compelling teaching tools are personal stories of the Empress. And fortunately, there are many.
I cannot think of a better person to open this exhibition than one who once sailed and dined on the Empress of Ireland when she and her family came over in 1912. Joyce Thompson Gould.
She was just 5 years old when Joyce Gould and her family rode the Empress to Canada.
You, right?
Is there a child there?
Yeah,
That would be me.
Could have
I
been
mean,
you,
like
right?
just like that, yeah.
But do you recall the deck?
Oh, yes. Oh, wonderful.
Okay, that's the third-class music room.
That's about as I remember it.
You remember something
It
like
was
that?
nice and clean, and a
Yeah.
lot of happy people.
2 years after her voyage, the Empress left Canada for the last time.
At 4:30 p.m. on May 28, 1914, the Empress of Ireland left Quebec City Harbor. It had on board about 1,400 passengers. And we know also that on that particular voyage, there were many members of the Salvation Army who were going to attend a world conference. So the Salvation Army band entertained people in first class, second class, and third class. And one of the songs they performed was God Be With You Till We Meet Again.
The ship's mascot, Emmy, seemed to know a tragedy was about to unfold.
The ship's cat of the CPR liner had made many trips on the Empress. But on May 28th, she left the ship as it prepared to cast off at Quebec, bound for England. Nothing would induce her to go aboard again.
Oh, my goodness.
Another premonition in Calgary. Faye Weller spent a full day packing for the voyage on the Empress. She was to travel with friends and a 1-year-old baby who will become Alan Weller's father.
She went to bed extremely tired that night and fell asleep. And during the night she had a dream, and in the dream she saw two ships colliding. And when she looked down at the water, she could see all these bodies in the water, and plus she could see people swimming. And she woke up the next morning. She was absolutely terrified. She begged them, either as a group or individually, not to make the trip. She said, that ship is going to go down. I am absolutely convinced that ship is going down. And no one took her seriously, and as I say, they all climbed on the train and off they went.
And she
Never saw them again.
Around midnight, most of the people were in bed. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, Captain Kendall, nearing Rimouski, spotted a ship about 8 miles away. It turned out that it was the Storstad, a Norwegian collier, loaded with coal.
Oh, here we go. It could be Charlie. Charlie. It could be a sitting because he was young.
Francis Organ's father and uncle were among the crew.
We think it's here.
You think it's there?
We think that's it.
Right around that time, a very heavy fog bank rolled in. He stopped the ship, but the Storstad came forward and collided with the Empress between the two funnels. It listed to starboard side, and the lights went out very soon. It was cold, it was dark, and many of the people died of hypothermia right there. The total number of people who perished on the Empress of Ireland were 1,012. And of these, there were more passengers who perished on the Empress of Ireland than on the Titanic.
In 14 awful minutes, the Empress was gone. 50 meters down where the St. Lawrence begins to merge with the Atlantic, with more than half her passengers still entombed. Within a few months, the First World War began, and the Empress was largely forgotten. Half a century later, divers began pulling pieces from the wreck. For Philippe Baudry, it was the start of a 40-year obsession with the Empress.
The darkness. I was not used, to dive in such a darkness. And that was more mystery, I think, than ever before. I made over 600 dives on the wreck. And the Empress of Ireland, that great lady, saved my life all the time because I'm almost drowned a couple of times. I got lost inside. So I felt if she took care of me so much, took care of my life, I should take care, of her body. And the body was the whole ship.
Baudry pulled hundreds of artifacts from the ship, traveled the world collecting other parts of the story, fought in court an attempt to destroy the wreck for her teak decking. Finally, health failing and ready to retire, Baudry tried in vain to find a Canadian institution to purchase his collection for $1.5 million, considerably less than its appraised value.
I fought so much over the years that now, I'm at a point, I can care less. I feel, if the Canadians are not interested, the Americans are, so let's sell it, to the Americans.
Baudry's story showed up on CBC television, and the threat that the Empress artifacts would be sold to American collectors awakened a new obsession in Marion Kelch.
And we know what cabin he was in because here it says, cabin 5. I feel now that maybe the burden has passed to me, and I've been lucky enough to be in the position to be able to do something about it. And fortunately, I'm able to get a lot of other people obsessed with the story too, and that pleases me. This is the next artifact we would like to purchase. It is a starboard light.
Kelch says she won't rest until the entire Baudry collection is purchased and placed in a Canadian museum.
Well, you get a tax-deductible receipt for any donation.
In 18 months, her group has raised just $30,000 and spent it on the pieces in this room. It's a tiny fraction of the money they need. And so the traveling exhibit, paid for out of her own pocket. It's Kelch's contribution to raising the awareness and collecting the stories of the Empress of Ireland. Stories she believes will help convince Canadians the artifacts are a treasure worth saving.
He had written to her, and after he heard about her loss of her husband, and he said he still loved her.
Oh, well.
And so he came. So they got married in Canada.
My father was on the Empress of Ireland with his younger brother, but they were saved. They were saved, you know.
It was actually hit by the storestad on the starboard side, and it literally just rolled and went right to the bottom.
Rob Rondo has dived the Empress, and recently he joined Marion Kelch's crusade.
And for a diver, it's truly a remarkable experience to have that direct connection with history. And I only wish that I could take you down there and be able to show you firsthand what it's like. So maybe
Joyce Gould has never forgotten the Empress.
And the people were arranged along there
yeah.
looking for icebergs.
And the prospect that others will learn of it delights her.
And I think it's a story that Canada is glad to remember. And due to her and her helpers, we will remember it. Otherwise, it would be forgotten by old people like me.
And you could have dined on that because you were on a...
And this went down under the sea and came back.
This was retrieved.
I've come this far, and we've been successful in purchasing 34 artifacts.
See, you can speak again.
Hello.
Hello, isn't that nice?
I'm willing to go as far as it takes, as long as it takes, and whatever it takes.
For The National, I'm Jim McQuarrie in Camrose, Alberta.